The story begins with a new chapter in human history, when humanity successfully launches a satellite into space.
Liftoff. We have a
But
liftoff.
then carry it on into the farthest reaches of the world wished it bon voyage.
This satellite is designed to travel far beyond the known universe, powered entirely by solar energy. 40 years after its launch, we are introduced to a famous writer named Neil, who has just released his latest book. But something unexpected suddenly happens. A group of dogs suddenly storms the event and causes chaos.
I spent 5 long years in a book. Sorry about this.
And then we realize it was all just a dream. Neil is not a famous writer at all. In reality, he is just an ordinary middle school teacher with no achievements to his name, quietly living an unremarkable life. That same day, Neil accidentally meets one of the apartment residents who lives right above him, a woman named Catherine. She is the kind of woman many men admire. Not only does she have a successful career in broadcasting, but she is also known for being warm, friendly, and kind to everyone she speaks to.
Like Facebook, yeah. That's a good one.
Meanwhile, far beyond Earth, the satellite has now traveled outside the solar system. That is when something shocking happens. It collides with an unknown object that turns out to be a group of aliens from another galaxy. These beings are on a mission to search for advanced civilizations, to form alliances in their quest to dominate the universe. Many civilizations have already been wiped out because they were judged unworthy of survival. After discovering life on Earth, the aliens begin debating whether humanity deserves to live or should be destroyed. One of them strongly argues that humans are foolish and disgusting creatures who should be eliminated. Another, however, believes humanity deserves a chance. In the end, they agree to choose one human to represent the entire planet. This person will decide Earth's fate. The aliens possess a limitless source of power, capable of creating absolutely anything. If the chosen human uses this power wisely and brings positive change to the world, Earth will be spared. If not, it will be destroyed without hesitation. For 10 days, this human will be granted unlimited power. That person turns out to be Neil. He becomes the chosen representative of all humanity. At that moment, Neil is on his way to school when he is accidentally hit by a car and knocked to the ground. It is at that exact moment that the power is transferred to him through his right hand. And just like that, everything changes. This is absolutely anything. Unaware of what has happened, Neil continues to school, arriving late and getting scolded by the principal.
You are idle, and you are feckless.
He then faces his chaotic and difficult students, who are known for being hard to control. Among the teachers is Ray, a biology teacher, and the only friend Neil truly has. Just like Neil, Ray is often ignored and underestimated by the other staff members at the school. While the two of them are having lunch, Ray casually asks what Neil would wish for if he could make anything come true. Without thinking much, Neil casually moves his right hand and says he wants his dog to throw up the full 3rd chapter of his writing and for an alien spaceship to destroy his classroom full of troublesome students. Moments later, Neil is completely shocked when his classroom actually gets destroyed by an alien ship, something he never truly believed would happen. When he gets home, he finds his dog has made a mess on the floor. Without realizing what he is doing, Neil casually wishes for the mess to clean itself up. As he moves his right hand, the mess suddenly comes to life and slides straight into the toilet on its own. Neil can hardly believe what he just witnessed. He quickly grabs a drink to calm himself down, and that is when it finally hits him. His dog really did throw up the exact chapter he had written earlier. When his drink accidentally spills, Neil decides to test it again by wishing the liquid would return to the bottle. At first, nothing happens because he does not move his hand. But once he waves his right hand, it works. That is when Neil fully realizes the truth about his power. He starts making small, pointless wishes, like replacing the bottle with an expensive one filled with high-quality alcohol. The bottle immediately moves on its own and heads toward a luxury liquor store. Trouble begins when the store alarm goes off and Neil is mistaken for a thief. A chase breaks out between him and a police officer. When Neil trips and finds himself cornered, he quickly makes another wish to be sent home so he can have dinner with his dog. In an instant, he is back at home, only to realize he is eating dog food, which completely disgusts him. While brushing his teeth to get rid of the taste, Neil suddenly remembers his misbehaving students who were killed by the alien attack. In a moment of panic, he wishes for everyone who died to come back to life. What follows is pure chaos, as the dead across the world rise from their graves. Realizing the horror he has caused, Neil quickly cancels the wish and replaces it with a new one, sending himself back to lunchtime with Ray.
Do anything. I don't know if I could just wave my hand and say such and such, and it would happen.
What?
The story then shifts to Catherine, who is approached by Grant, a military colonel who has been pursuing her for a long time. From the beginning, Catherine clearly shows that she has no interest in him and tries to turn him down gently. Back with Neil, he walks into class while the students are being noisy and out of control. Using his unlimited power, he wishes for them to become polite, respectful, and well-behaved. The result goes far beyond what he expected. The students become almost robotic, overly obedient, and completely expressionless. They even seem excited when Neil assigns them reading tasks. Seeing this, Neil tries something else. He wishes for the strict and harsh principal to become kind and friendly to everyone. The result is almost unsettling, as the principal becomes overly warm and overly nice toward him. After dealing with his own personal mess, Neil turns his attention to helping Ray, who is often ignored by the gym teacher, Miss Pringle. She is far more interested in the math teacher and barely acknowledges Ray at all. Without asking for permission or thinking things through, Neil makes a wish that Miss Pringle would not only like Ray, but obsessively admire him. And just like that, she becomes completely fixated on him. On his way home from school, Neil continues to experiment with his powers. Out of curiosity, he casually wishes to become the President of the United States. At first, it seems impossible, but suddenly a limousine appears, followed by a presidential security team that rushes him inside the vehicle. What follows is pure chaos. Neil finds himself in a high-risk situation as security forces try to protect him from incoming threats. He is even forced to sign important documents while taking cover from gunfire. Overwhelmed and terrified, Neil quickly cancels the wish before things spiral further out of control. Still curious about his abilities, Neil looks at himself in the mirror and wishes for a strong and muscular body like a jaguar. Instantly, his body transforms into a toned and powerful figure. But his curiosity does not stop there. He experiments again and accidentally makes the floor transparent. This causes Catherine to scream in shock, since Neil can suddenly see into her apartment below while she is ironing clothes in minimal clothing. After realizing that none of his wishes ever seem to end well, Neil decides to be honest with Ray and finally tells him the truth about his powers. Ray, however, assumes Neil is drunk and does not believe a word of it. To prove himself, Neil brings a decorative skeleton to life right in front of him. Still unconvinced, Ray asks Neil to fill the entire room with flowers. Instantly, the classroom overflows with them.
I could swear it was the skeleton talking.
Yeah, it was. Bunch of flowers in my hand.
What's this?
At that moment, the usually angry principal walks in, but instead of yelling, he suddenly becomes unusually warm and friendly toward Neil. That is when Ray finally believes him. However, instead of using this power wisely, Ray becomes greedy and asks to win every horse race in the world. After countless victories and piles of money, both of them grow bored, realizing there is no challenge left. Meanwhile, Catherine is once again bothered by Grant, who now tries to impress her by showing off a sports car. He even claims to have bought a luxury apartment just for the two of them. Although Catherine rejects him, Grant still gives her the key, hoping she might change her mind.
Here's the key.
When Catherine arrives home, she vents her frustration to her close friend about Grant's constant interference in her life. Her friend suggests that having a boyfriend might finally make him back off, and the man Catherine secretly likes turns out to be Neil. That night, without Neil realizing it, his power suddenly begins to malfunction and becomes unusable. At the same time, he starts thinking about his deepest wish, to be in a real relationship with Catherine. Without hesitation, he wishes for her to come to him and to feel the same way about him. What he does not realize is that Catherine shows up not because of his power, but because she has genuinely liked him for a long time. When she finally meets him that night, she immediately kisses him. The next morning, Neil wakes up to find that his powers are working again. He begins using them to make his life easier, having his clothes dress him automatically, and even making his utensils and books move on their own. Everything feels effortless and under control. The only problem is Dennis, his dog, who keeps barking nonstop. Using his power, Neil gives Dennis the ability to speak. It turns out Dennis has been craving the biscuits Neil gives him every morning. He admits he is addicted to them, and that craving is the reason he never stops barking. Neil considers removing that desire, But Dennis explains that desire is what makes him feel alive. Without it, life would have no meaning. Not long after, Catherine comes over and officially becomes Neil's girlfriend. But trouble quickly follows. Dennis, now able to speak freely, suddenly blurts out how much he loves Neil for his kindness. Catherine hears this and assumes the voice belongs to another man. She believes Neil is hiding something and assumes he is attracted to men. Hurt and confused, she immediately leaves him.
I love you, Neil! Shut up, Dennis!
Why do I always end up with creeps?
I'm not a creep. I thought I told you to shut up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
The situation could have been easily fixed, but Neil panics and makes everything worse. Instead of thinking clearly, he creates more chaos, even ending up jumping onto a moving bus and getting stuck.
I don't mean on the bus, I mean in the bus. The engine and the passenger are coming.
After finally freeing himself, he runs off to chase Catherine. At the same time, Ray finds himself in serious trouble at school. Miss Pringle no longer just admires him. She begins worshiping him like a god.
Oh, Lord! Oh, Lord!
This happens because of Neil's earlier wish that went too far. It was meant to inspire admiration, not blind devotion. As a result, Ray becomes surrounded by fanatical followers who treat him like a divine figure. By coincidence, Neil and Ray cross paths on the street. To escape Miss Pringle and her followers, Neil quickly turns Ray into a sausage. Once they are safe, Neil turns him back into a human again. Later that afternoon, as Catherine returns home from work, she is once again confronted by Grant, who has somehow already made his way into her apartment. Realizing that Catherine is in trouble, Neil steps in and offers her a safe place at his apartment for dinner.
She's coming to dinner.
Oh, the bitch.
Don't call her that.
Hi, has he gone?
No, I don't think so.
As the two of them begin to reconnect, Grant suddenly smashes through the window, holding a gun and trying to intimidate Neil. But with limitless power in his hands, Neil calmly challenges him. Catherine, unable to stop what is happening, leaves in fear as the two men clash. Not long after she leaves, Grant attempts to strangle Neil, but Neil easily overpowers him and teaches him a painful lesson by throwing him around the room. Once he feels Grant has learned enough, Neil calmly explains how his power works, hoping it will stop him from causing further trouble. Instead, Grant takes advantage of the moment and knocks Neil unconscious from behind.
Great. I love you. I love you so much.
Dennis, keep it.
Stop.
Neil wakes up tied inside the apartment Grant had bought for Catherine. His mouth is sealed and his right hand is trapped inside a glass box, making it nearly impossible for him to speak or move freely. Dennis is also threatened, with Grant warning that the dog will be shot if Neil resists. Grant then writes down a list of wishes he has always dreamed of. Most of them are ridiculous, like making everyone in England have big ears or forcing police officers to wear pink uniforms. After that, Neil is forced to fulfill more serious demands, including creating massive amounts of pure gold worth a fortune. Meanwhile, Catherine grows increasingly worried about Neil and unexpectedly runs into Ray, who is hiding from his own followers. She remembers the apartment key Grant once gave her, and together they rush there to save Neil. Along the way, they run into Miss Pringle and her fanatical followers, who immediately begin chasing Ray. They arrive just in time, as Neil is about to complete Grant's final request, forcing Catherine to fall deeply in love with him. With Dennis's life being threatened, Neil has no choice but to comply.
I love you. Please, please.
However, the moment Grant lets his guard down, Neil turns him into a dog and restores Miss Pringle and her followers back to normal.
Pringle, think about Ray the way that you used to.
Get lost, you creep!
After everything settles, Catherine decides to end her relationship with Neil. She cannot live in a world shaped by lies and unnatural power. Neil accepts her decision and chooses not to change it using his abilities. Through everything that has happened, Neil finally realizes how selfish he has been, focusing only on personal desires while ignoring far greater problems like war, hunger, and climate change. He tries to fix these issues but soon understands that every wish carries consequences he cannot control. But after that, he starts watching the news, and he is shocked to realize that everything he wished for has actually brought disaster. New viruses begin to appear, conflicts break out across different countries, and what was once peace slowly turns into war. In the end, Neil accepts that humans are flawed and never meant to hold such power. To prevent more harm, he gives his power to Dennis. Surprisingly, Dennis uses it wisely. Just as the aliens prepare to destroy Earth, Dennis wishes for the power itself to disappear forever. The attack meant for Earth turns back on the aliens, wiping them out instead.
Destruction generator already charged.
Commencing destruction.
Let the source of that power be destroyed.
Everything resets to the beginning, with Neil waking up as if nothing ever happened. His powers are gone, but this time he relies on himself to ask Catherine out for dinner. And to his surprise, Catherine accepts his invitation, and in the end, they finally come together. Meanwhile, when it comes to Grant, his fate remains the same, forever trapped in the body of a dog. At the very least, he now has Dennis by his side, a loyal companion who will stay with him until the end. So the moral of the story is, if you cannot even handle your own life, maybe you should not be trusted with God-level powers.